Welcome back to another episode of the Lana Hustle. I am your host, Lana, and we have our co-host, Ignacio. And I'm so excited for today, even though I have no idea what we're speaking about, because again, my husband decided to just take on the role of podcast director and just lead every podcast, which I'm totally okay with. And you will know if I'm not okay with it. But
How
it's
you will
not a
call
threat,
you will
babe.
call me out here?
Yeah, I will,
Okay.
honestly. So we got some amazing feedback from last week's episode, which was very vulnerable, and I feel like a lot of people needed to hear. And it just brought out another side of me and you and this new journey that we're on.
Let's do this. Thank you for having me back, or I should say, thank you to the audience for allowing me to be back. But to go straight into it, one of the things that I wanted to discuss yesterday, no, the last episode that we couldn't, was the entrepreneurial philosophy throughout the internet, and you can hear a lot of people talk about this, and you and I discussed this in closed doors. And since I got closer to God, my perspective on this changed, and it actually makes more sense now than it did before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to explain why that. But the philosophy around entrepreneurship is like, write your goals down, meditate on it, meditate on it, visualize on it, do the law of attraction and all these different things. And I wanted to know, what are your thoughts, or what were your thoughts about that before, and what are your thoughts about that today?
I feel like didn't we go over this last episode? No?
I talked about it briefly, but we didn't dive in, and I want to dive in because I had some conversations yesterday that I want to finish with these points of the conversation, because I think it's worth sharing with the audience, my final point. So
my views on law of attraction.
Yeah, like, what were your views before and now from those standpoints?
I feel like
The reason I'm asking you this question to you, so you can think a little bit more about it, is because you've done network marketing.
okay.
You've done a lot of these communities, they touch based into, like, if you can see
wait,
it, you can.
I have okay. So I feel like previously I viewed, asking for you what you wanted and setting the intention and setting your goals and as a way for the universe to hear me, and that's what I would refer to. But now I realize who that universe is, and that universe is God, the only one God that we truly have, the creator of this world, right? And today's like something during our prayer, it hit me, and I'm like, holy cow, like everybody's here on this earth. The earth is here, like everything is here because of God. And how many people actually give thanks to him every single day? And when you put things into perspective and you realize, like, when you find yourself complaining over like the little things, I catch myself and I have to go back and I'm like, hello, remember like how grateful you are to just be here, right? I gave thanks in my prayer today. Like I gave thanks to not only my home or whatever, right? But I gave thanks to every cell in my body, because every cell has a purpose. And that is just so mind-blowing. And that is what keeps me humble and grateful, walking in God's path every single day. Just being grateful for him. So yeah, that is my view now.
Okay.
And it's crazy how it just happened, like from 1 month to the next, from 1 week to the next. And now it's like, I feel like there's like a complete switch from one day to the next.
If you surrender,
Yes, if you surrender. And the more that I surrender, the more I realize, like, holy cow, like I am a completely different person today than I was just yesterday. And it's crazy because like the voices in my head, right, will want to go and tell me like, no, this is only gonna last 2-3 weeks, and then you're gonna go back to your old ways. And then God is like, no, 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 we're not letting those evil voices get the best of us. And people have told me like the closer that you get to God, the more evil will want to attack, because he wants you to not have that faith in our Creator. And when you think of that, now I wake up every day for like a battle, like my battle to step into the power of Jesus. And I'm just ready for whatever comes my way because I know that I have him. And before that, I viewed it as like, I didn't know. I didn't know what the universe was, right? I'm like, just hoping like the universe hears me,
Now you're going to understand why I started with this topic. And this is the thing. For me, that view, that point of view, or all these things, law of attraction, meditation, therapy,
which I still do. I still, so hold on really quick. I still do believe in those things. And I feel like, meditation, again, is not just like a form of doing it because you want to manifest
but
this.
There's a thing. There's meditation, which helps you quiet your brain, which is not spiritual. Okay. And then there's the spiritual kind of meditation, which is like this thing of praising the universe or Mother Earth or all these different things that, in my belief, and I have to be very careful with the words that I put out because I don't want to say like, oh, this is the truth. I don't know the truth. These are my beliefs. Is that all these things that came up through my journey, and I was having this conversation yesterday. I was saying like, when I used to be a rugby player, I didn't have time for all these things. I didn't have time for all these things because my life, in terms of my execution, was very easy. I put my body on the line. I run through walls. And that's how I deal with problems. Like I have a problem with my coach not picking me. I train harder. I go into the field. I hit harder. The next game I get picked. So there was no time for these emotions or too much self-talking. It was like the self-talking was very aggressive, and it's not healthy either. So I'm not recommending that, but that was my reality back then. When I transitioned into business and into real life, now you start dealing with emotions because I can't run through people. If I have an argument with you, I can't fight you. Like I have to deal with the arguments with words. The same thing in the street. So
I don't think you want to try fighting me, babe. Like
no,
you'll get knocked out.
No, I wouldn't. But at the end of the day, the enemy or the devil tries to make us feel that void that we are born with, that we feel on the day-to-day. He's trying to fill that void with all these different things. Call it money, call it sex, call it meditation, call it drugs, healthy drugs and unhealthy drugs,
addictions,
and all these things. They're trying to cover that void with all these things. And the truth is that the only thing that can fill that void is getting closer to God. And speaking from personal experience, as I was saying,
you know what's crazy? That in my devotional, my women's devotional group, that's what they just said right now.
It's the only way. The only way to close that void in your life is getting closer to Jesus and to God, which is the same. But the reason I'm saying this is because throughout my life and my journey as a business person, I've been through ups and downs like many people in the audience. I felt hopeless many times like many people in the audience. And I will try to, this person says that I need to read X amount of books every day or every year. This person says that I need to sit down and write down my goals and my vision and do vision boards. And this person says that I need to meditate 10 minutes a day. And I would do all these things because I'm very structured. And I would still feel the same way. And yeah, things might go better one day, bad the other day, but in the end, that void, that emptiness, that hopelessness was still there. And the only moment that that hopelessness and that emptiness close out was when I decided to get closer to Jesus, to God. And the fact is that even till this day, and I can use today as an example, I woke up, I was not feeling my best. I was on my head. And when I prayed this morning, I was a different person. And my business partner and mentor yesterday told me this story, and he's like, bro, think how easy it is. Like, all these people, we are always trying to fill up this void. But what a better way to fill out this void than being able to close the door and talk to our Creator. And you can talk, like, for me at the beginning, it was like, how the fuck do I talk to God? Like, I don't even know how to pray. I don't know what to say. Just talk and let Him in. And the more you let Him in, the easier the words coming to you. And it's just such an amazing awakening that I have, that one of the reasons that I wanted to start touching topics like these is because I feel that this doesn't sell. You know, like me or you talking about, oh, get closer to Jesus, get closer to God, is not something that it's attractive. For people are more attracted to hear like the law of attraction, because of the word attraction. Oh my God, if I go and do this, I can attract these things. So let me go and focus on this because this is what I need to do. And it's just not the right path, in my opinion. And I think that more people need to be sharing the things that we're sharing now, you know? So do you have anything else to add to this?
It's crazy to think that we were those people, though.
Yeah, of course. We were those people.
And the reason why, like, I am so passionate, and we are so passionate about speaking the way that we do now, is to spread awareness and spread faith, and just to remember, like, that you're not alone. Even when you feel alone, like, that's your time to surrender and just ask God. Like, on Sunday, we had a heated argument, and Sunday, right before church,
oh yeah,
I was like, I'm not gonna go to church with you.
Yeah, we did.
And no, because you were being, I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna start. But wait.
I was not being annoying. But okay, go, keep going.
So, I mean, I feel like the old us would have still stayed mad. Maybe, who knows, probably until the next day, just because I'm prideful, he's prideful. And we are two completely different people, literally like yin and yang, right? I'm day and you're night. Like,
You're wearing black today, I'm wearing white. I don't know.
I'm so much, I feel like I'm way more patient than you are. Definitely.
Depends on what. Come on, you're taking time off the topic.
Okay, anyways, long story short, but whatever. We had like a whole heated argument where, like, during the argument, I was like, I had like God in the back of my head, like, this isn't like you guys, like, come on, you know, somebody wants to defeat you, somebody wants to tear you guys apart. And so then I stopped and I walked upstairs and I sat on my bed and I started crying. And I was like, you know, God, please help me understand why we got into this argument. Like, help me understand not only his side, but where did my anger and my rage come from? And for me to even realize that it was my shit and my rage and my anger, you know, that was a huge awakening. And I'm like, you know, hear him out. Like, apologize, because two wrongs don't make a right. And if you yelled and he yelled, like, he's not only the bad guy, you are too, Alana. You know, so I always ask myself, like, okay, what would Jesus do?
Yeah,
So he would
that's literally a question that I
put his
asked him.
pride down, even though he doesn't have pride. He would apologize. And then as soon as, I had my little moment on the bed where I was talking to God, I came back and then I just started like doing my makeup again. But I'm like, I still had the other voice inside my head, like, don't go, Alana, don't go to church. And it was a back and forth. But then God was like, how are you not going to go to church? Like,
Yeah, like you were doing that to
how,
yourself, not to me.
yeah, like, come on, you like step up. You're so much better than this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came inside the room, and usually I would just like ignore him. Or just tell him to go away and give me more time, which sometimes I do need some time because I'm still working on my 0 to 100 rage, but it's getting better. We just like looked at each other and then we hugged and we kissed and we made up, and that was a beautiful thing that
Mm-hmm.
we could get into a heated argument and then 10 minutes later just like drop our guards down and remember who we are and like what we stand for and like what we were gonna go do next.
It's funny because I had the same conversation downstairs. Like I was like,
Really?
what? I didn't ask what would Jesus do because he didn't have pride. He didn't need to apologize. Like, but for me, it was like, okay, what would Jesus tell me to do? It was like, if I would be having a conversation right now with him, and I started having that conversation with him, he made me see the big picture, and sometimes that's something that we lack as a society, coming this way today. I was talking on the phone with my mom.
I miss your mom.
My
So
mom
much.
was like, oh, what do you think about the whole war in Israel and Palestine? And I was like, look, I don't have enough information, and I haven't yet read like stories about it in the Bible yet. But one thing that I can tell you is that those doings are not religious doings, are evil doings. And sometimes the evil turns to disguise itself amongst faith and makes people in high positions of countries or of churches too do things that they tend to believe that, oh, this is what God wants me to do, but in reality it's what the evil is wanting them to do, and it's using the cloth and the image of God to do those things. And that's something that, again, because it's not spoken too much about it, or it's spoken in like community churches and stuff like that, they just talk about this. But I think that this is not shared enough through social media, that then more people tend to part ways from faith because they are like, oh, how am I going to praise God if look all these things that are happening, look how many kids are dying, look what's happening here in this country that we're going to touch base next, like all these different things. Like people blame that on God, but the truth is that God gave us free will. We have free will, and we have evil and we have good, and we choose which path to go. We choose if we want to trust God and let him guide us through our life and ask him for guidance and telling him, whatever you want me to do, I'll do, just tell me what to do. Compared to, and some other people, they just want to listen to the evil voices, the addictions, the all these things that are
Their flesh.
that are our flesh. Our flesh is sinful, and we need to starve the flesh. And I think that that's very hard to do. I'm a sinful man. You're a sinful woman. Like, my flesh is sinful.
But that's where the discipline comes in.
I go through tough times like everybody else, controlling my flesh and my bad habits. But at the end of the day, the only way to beat that is anchoring yourself in faith and in God. So go into the next topic, because I know that we have a little bit of a crunch time today again. People want longer podcasts, but you always give me 30 minutes. So the next topic is, I'm going to throw two in one, okay? And I want to know your opinion, and then we can debate, and then we can see how faith interjects in these topics, which is, one is the war that is going on between sexes, masculine and feminine, in the world, but in the US. And attached to that war comes the war for our children, what is happening in schools, how schools are indoctrinating our kids to not only get further and further away from church, from faith, but also to make them develop habits that are not healthy in the long term. Like, not in the long term, like they are not healthy at all. So if you want to break ground with those topics.
Ignacio.
Do you want me to break ground so you can? Okay. So I think that the whole sex war that is going on, there's no winners or losers. I think that men need women as much as women need men. I think that there is a movement.
Which is why God created Adam and Eve, because he saw that Adam could not.
Correct.
That he needed a woman.
He needed a woman. And then there's this, feminism culture, empower women, and all these different things that I think that it started.
You know what?
It started with a good cause. Mm-hmm. It started with a good cause. But I think, like anything in this world, the evil gets on hold of the good causes, and then it twists them and it turns them into evil things. It turns them into situations where numbers speak for themselves. And next episode, I'm going to start getting more statistics so people can see where I'm coming from. But it's like, it's not coincidence that the number of single mothers in this country has grown from 4 to 5% to over 40% in the last 10 years. It's not coincidence. Evil doesn't want family union. A family union, it's a father and a mother raising children. That's a family union. Now, we can get heated from different topics. What about, homosexuals raising kids and all that stuff? We're not going to talk about that today. I'm just going to start with this. And it's like, a mother and a father are needed in a household to raise kids. The mothers usually have more compassion and they're more nurturing. And then the father is usually more with the discipline, and it's not in our case because we both work, but in some cases or in old school places, it's like the provider and the protector of the family. And that's getting lost. I see it a lot in Miami, like I see it a lot in Miami. You come from a situation like that, and I feel like at one point, and this is why I'm going to put this question back to you. At one point before you met me, you kind of felt like this movement was compelling for you because you were a single mother, working your ass off, providing for your kid, and you in your head were like, I don't need men. Men are trash. Men are garbage.
Yeah, because that's also what I grew up hearing. Like,
okay, but that goes back. That's also.
And then coming from like a divorced family, my dad going through his addictions and, whatever, that's a different story. I made the belief that, what, my mom is right. Like, all men are the same. All of them are going to cheat. Like, go work hard for yourself, right? Nothing about family, grow up, work hard so that you can support your family. No, because work hard for yourself, keep all the money so that the guy can pay for every single thing. Because just in case, if he wants to leave you, you're good.
And that's the thing.
And that's what I grew up believing. And like,
Yeah.
at one point, like preaching, which I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like I really did not. I knew of God, but I didn't have him in my life. And I only asked or said God's name when I was on my knees going through the roughest times of the roughest times.
Which, by the way, God will put you in those situations because he wants you closer to him. The problem is that most people just touch base then, and then when they see things flourishing and getting good, they forget. And then they go back, and then you wonder, you are like, why am I going through these ups and downs all the time? Why am I going through hardships, then everything seems good, then I go back into hardships? I do believe now more than ever that those hardships are put in your life because it's the way of God bringing you closer to him. Now,
yes, and also he doesn't want you to settle things that you don't have peace in.
Correct. Yes, that's the point. But you don't want. It's very easy to praise God when you're going through hard times. Mm-hmm. It's very easy. It's very hard to praise God when everything is good, So I think that when you get to that point that you praise God no matter what, and you actually have true faith and true peace, is when your life starts turning over. But going back into the topic, you said it. Some of your old videos, you were preaching about it, and you were talking about like the whole empowering women and all these different things. And I want to say something. I believe in empowering women. I'm married to an empowered woman. I love everything about her. But when it comes to our household, it was a long learning curve because at the beginning,
Curb, I love the way that you
at the
speak.
beginning, I was dealing with this woman that thought that men were trash. I was dealing with a woman that no matter what I did, it was all the time like, oh no, you are out there to get me. Like there's something that you're going to do
He was
now.
like, look, I got your face tattooed. Like, what do you
Like,
mean? I
it's like-
love you, Alana. I'm like, nope.
Everything,
One
no
day you're
matter
gonna
what I
hurt me,
do.
and I'm still gonna be good because I'm still making my money, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. And that's the wrong messaging,
Yes.
because the ones that suffer at the end of the day are the next generations to come. And we are going into an era, and you guys can go back into and see this video 20, 30 years from now, that all these girls, because they're girls, they're not women. Like there's a big difference between a woman and a girl. I nominate all these girls that are part of the movement with the wrong idea of the movement.
I'm like, Jesus save me.
In 20 years from now, all of you girls are going to be 40 years old, single, no kids, and a very fucking lonely life. A very lonely, lonely life. Because the best and the most important job that a woman has in their life is the ability to procreate and have children. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that...
But let's talk about children really quick because...
You're running short in time?
Well, yeah, but...
Fuck.
Anyways.
We need an hour. We need 2 hours next episode.
I know. We need just like a whole podcast studio.
We need like time to talk about these topics. We can't cut these topics off like that.
I know, but just going back to the children.
But let me attach the children to that. And this issue is attached to children because children now are being left unprotected. There was an interview from a predator, a child's predator, that I watched, that they asked him, what are one of the things, he gave 5, but this one caught my attention a lot. And I actually told you, like, I really want to be very present with the kids. And it's like, the number one thing that he looks at when he's about to prey on a kid is that they are fatherless. If there's not a father in the house, I know that I can get over this kid. Because the mom is going to, the mom maybe is busy working. Maybe she's doing her own thing. Like, this kid is my prey. And that was the number one thing. And that brings all these evils that we're seeing right now, that kids can take puberty blockers at the age of 9, 10 years old. That some schools in some districts are teaching boys how to give a blowjob to another boy at 10 years old. There's a book in California schools that teaches that to kids.
One of my students, one of my last training students, she lives in Louisiana, I think. And she was like, not only is the gender thing like crazy over there, where like my 3-year-old got in trouble because he called a little girl a girl at 3 years old. But now they're putting litters in kids' schools because if you want to identify yourself as a cat, you can.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like, oh my God, what is this world coming to? Absolutely not. Like,
and it all starts back into the family union being broken. Because believe me, if you have a family union and your kid is going to that school, and let's say the wife, the mother, that it's usually the more compassionate one, it's okay with their kid playing kitty cat, I promise you that if you have a father there, he's going to say, hell no, what is this craziness? Because men, we don't have that, that nurturing thing. Like the mothers usually, they want to.
But no.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking in general.
If the mother
speaking.
has Jesus in her life, she will not be okay with her son, daughter, using a litter box in school.
That is true. And then the other thing too, just to clarify this topic, I don't have no issues with people dating same sex, gay, lesbians. Yeah. I don't have no issues with that. Like if one of our kids grows up to like be a homosexual, that's fine. We'll love him, we'll love her, we'll protect them, we'll guide them, we'll walk that journey with them. The problem that I have is installing these things in kids' minds at a very young age. Like kids don't have the need, even Disney movies. Like we were watching a movie and this is a movie for 3 to 10-year-old. And Disney was showing a gay marriage. Again, I don't have nothing against it, but that's not appropriate for, in my eyes, for a 3 to 10-year-old kid. Like they should not even be seeing that. They should not even be having questions about that at that age. At that age, I was playing fucking Hot Wheels. Like, what's the point? Like, all this inclusion, that's not inclusion. Inclusion is with adults. Like, when we are adults, we need to be inclusive. It's not for kids. And I'm very against all of that. And I told you, and the reason why I wanted to start touching these topics here is because we need to get used to of your platform of the word to be able to say these things. And a lot of your audience, they are single mothers too. So I think that giving this perspective of what's going on for children, so you guys can open up your eyes and pay more attention to these things. If you guys are not paying attention, I think it's very important. And yeah, like it's something that it's really scary, but at the same time, because I have faith, I pray to God to help us.
We make it very clear that like our kids are going to grow up knowing exactly who Jesus is, like, knowing that we're here not only to serve ourselves, but we're here to serve others. And Olivia and Adriano are not going to have social media for a very long time. No phones, nothing like that. I'm going to let them be kids.
They have to be kids. They have to be kids. They have to grow. They have to do kids things.
And we are our hope for the next generation, right? Our pastor said, like, Hitler says that, if he has our children, he holds the future. Because then he can mold them into whatever he wants them to do.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And children are the future, and don't, as a parent, as a leader of your family, don't hold back on your kids the opportunity for them to meet Jesus, to meet God, to develop faith. Just because you didn't have faith, don't take that gift away from your kids. I think that that's something that it's very important, and it's the best thing that we can do as parents. Give them faith. And our children are childrens of God, and they're just lended to us, the same way that we were lended to our parents to become adults and then represent our true father, which is God, is the same way generation after generation. And I think that what's going on right now, and I'd say America because we live in America, but it's happening all over the world, in the Western world, is that they're destroying the family union with all these fake wars between sex, targeting our children. I recommend you guys to watch the movie Sound of Freedom, so you guys have a little bit more understanding of all the things that are being covered up that we don't hear much about. We hear about all these different things, like we hear about, I don't know, Ukraine war. We hear about, in this country, we hear about the Ukraine war, we hear about Palestine and Israel war, we hear about all these things, but what about what's going on in the border here with all these people crossing and taking kids to go over and being sex trafficked? What about one of the old presidents of this country, Clinton? Like, he has fly logs to the predator island of Epstein. He has, I don't know how many times he went to that island, and nobody talks about that. Nobody's putting them out there, showing the damage that these people in power are doing to the society. And the society, we are so focused on our day-to-day, trying to make meets end, that we are being taken away from this big picture that it's actually going to hurt us in the long term. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to share. I don't know if you have anything else to say. You have to go. Okay.
But this was an amazing episode. I promise the next one we'll make it longer. Drop a comment down below on what you guys want us to speak about next, even though Ignacio says he's got it.
Next time I want to bring data so I can share, like, with actual numbers, these things that I share. But pay attention around you guys. Like, what I just said about the 5% to 40% in single mother increase, look around. Like, everywhere you walk around is more single moms than families. And also for men, if any men are listening to this, step the fuck up. If you are brave enough to have sex and get somebody pregnant, step up to the plate, be present. That's your gift from life. Having sex has consequences, and one of the most beautiful consequences is that you can have a child. And if you are listening to this and you have a child and you and the mother of your child are not together, this doesn't mean that you guys have to be living together, but try the best to be a family union for that kid.
Amen. But I love you all. Once again, I got emotional. Thank you so much for that, Ignacio. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Send this to somebody that needs to hear it. And I love you all. See you next week.